This year, September has been taking L after L, I swear. It's the end of the third quarter, and right now we're waiting for the GDP report of the third quarter. According to the real GDP, we have actually been dropping for the past 2 quarters, so technically we're in a recession, and the US might have changed the definition of what a recession is, but no, it's still 2 quarters according to most economists in the world. Pretty much the biggest thing that happened, especially in the economy in the US and honestly the world, is the 8.3% inflation report at the end of August, which was only 0.2% lower than the one back in July, which was a much lower decrease than expected from the Federal Reserve, who actually increased the interest rates by 75 basis points back in the end of July. And this prompted a huge sell-off and huge dip in the markets, and the NASDAQ 100, pretty much all the stocks when inflation report was reported, pretty much dropped and continued to decline after that. The majority of the indexes has continued to go down and has now entered a bear market itself. The S&P 500, as you can see here, has decreased down from year to date 25.25%. Jeez, man. Yeah. And the Dow Jones has also recently this month entered a bear market at 21.48%. Yikes. So yeah, the majority of indexes have reached a bear market, and that's most likely because the high inflation within this year is the main problem within the economy. It's pretty much the looming shadow that's overtaking the entire global economic sphere. And pretty much the majority of central banks in the world are dealing with this big inflation. Recently, a lot of central banks, including our central bank, the Federal Reserve, and the Bank of England, the Swiss National Bank, has been increasing interest rates around the same time. And if they haven't done it in September, they're probably going to do it in October. And a little bit quick summary of the interest rate spikes across multiple of the top banks in the world. The Federal Reserve increased by 75 basis points on September 21st. The Bank of England increased by 50 basis points September 22nd. And Swiss National Bank increased by 75 basis points as well September 22nd. Yeah, a lot of the major central banks are increasing interest rates at the same time, which means like this inflation thing is a huge problem that's attacking, pretty much overshadowing the entire world right now. The European Union's current inflation rate is actually even higher at 10.10% at the end of August, which was, reported in September. So that's why whatever happened in September, right? Fun fact, the US is actually one of the world's largest exporters of petroleum, refined petroleum, and that's why we don't have as much of a problem when it comes to energy compared to the European Union, which is struggling with energy problems. They're struggling with energy and gas and fuel right now, mainly because Russia was a big exporter in oil, energy basically, to the European countries. And now since they cut that shit off, they have to go towards other solutions for energy, like nuclear energy, which is honestly a good option in my opinion. They've actually been starting up a lot of nuclear sites recently as well. Maybe not this month, but probably a little bit this month as well. And another big thing, huge thing that happened, especially in England, was the death of Queen Elizabeth II, and which when she died and her whole funeral process came across, it pretty much stalled England's economy for a little bit there. And on top of high interest rates, and then them reporting that the British government plans to introduce new tax cuts by increasing borrowing, it kind of increased the amount of sell-off the pound would usually get. So the Bank of England, to stabilize this, they stepped in and are buying 65 billion pounds worth of bonds, which somewhat stabilized the British pound and bond market so far. Russia is also trying to claim 15% of Ukrainian territory, legal, not legal, war and all that stuff. Another interesting thing that happened was the Ethereum merge. The Ethereum merge pretty much cut a lot of the energy costs and minting and pretty much anything to do with the cryptocurrency Ethereum by, I think, like 98%.
Bruh.
So yeah, hopefully that will, better the earth, good green earth. Yeah, man, that's basically it. A lot of things are going on right now in the September, especially. If you guys are a trader or investor, obviously it's been a very slow month. September and August has historically been known to have very slow months in the markets, a lot less liquidity, if you guys noticed that. And on top of that, with high inflation, and also people losing $9 trillion the first 6 months of 2022, people are going to be a little bit more hesitant towards investing their money into the markets. So, what are we going to do? Obviously, this type of situation has happened a little bit before, back in the 1980s, maybe not to this extent now. So yeah, well, I'm curious to see what's going to happen after this month. And yeah, that's basically it. And please, boys, if I'm missing any information, please let us know in the comments below. Sharing is caring.